Earlier this summer, Apple announced the next big software update coming to the iPhone. iOS 18 is still in beta at the moment, and I've been trying this out this last week or so to test out some of the new features. We've got some big changes with new customization options, some new app features, and a nice sprinkling of little changes throughout the OS that I know a lot of us have been wanting and waiting for. And these features are also coming to the iPad at the same time, so iPad users rejoice, you won't have to wait a year to get these features like we have before. My name is Jack, welcome if you're new here, I make tech videos. Apple also announced a bunch of AI features with Apple Intelligence and the next generation of Siri, but those are going to be coming further down the line with iOS 18.1 and only to the iPhone 15 Pro models and the M series iPads, so I'll save those for a separate video, get subscribed if you want to see that. First up, we've got some changes to the home screen. Dark mode now extends to your app icons, making them a little easier on the eyes in lower light. Apple's own icons look great in the dark versions, but I've actually got some third-party apps here as well, like YouTube and Facebook. Now, these haven't been updated to officially support dark mode, but it turns out that iOS 18 is actually intelligently creating these dark mode versions automatically. It doesn't work for every app, like Instagram here, for example, has stayed the same. It seems to only try and do this with apps that have simple two-tone color schemes, flipping the background and foreground colors as needed. But once iOS 18 officially drops, devs can of course create their own dark mode icons as they see fit. I'm loving this look too. It makes the OS feel kind of fresh and new. It's more unified with the widgets that have supported dark mode for a while. You can have the icons change whenever dark mode is enabled, or always keep them light or dark, however you prefer. And then we have this new tint feature, and this, I'm not sure how I feel about it. It will choose a colour it thinks that best fits your current wallpaper, or you can choose one yourself with the slider, and then applies that tint to all of the icons on your home screen, which is a choice look. I can't see myself using it that much. I like having all of the colourful app icons, but maybe you'll like this if you want a more uniform theme to your home screen. This tint gets applied to all of the icons, even those more complex ones like Instagram that have a gradient background. So these ones can end up looking a little bit strange, a little bit like washed out, and they lose their contrast. Even Apple's own Maps icon doesn't look that great. For me, really only the white tint is the one that I could actually see myself using. But this is something that they have been tweaking throughout the beta, so it might look a bit better in the actual release. And they have made it so you can set different tints that will be remembered across all of your different home screen wallpapers. I'd like to see the tints as well done with a light background to the apps as well, because at the moment they're always dark. I think a light background could look pretty good. There's also now an option to make the icons even bigger, removing the app names underneath, which gives you a nice clean look. And you've probably noticed I've got some icons here that don't follow the usual rules of the grid. Yes, you can now pick up and place your apps wherever you want to on the home screen, which has been a long time coming. I know that Android has had this forever. I don't know why it's taken 18 years for iOS to catch up, but here we are. You can move all your icons down to the bottom of the screen for easier access, or frame them around your wallpaper or a photo. One thing that still bugs me is when you move an app, some of the nearby ones tend to try and fill the gaps, which can be a bit frustrating when you're trying to put them exactly where you want. So I'm hoping that they change that in the beta and lock them in place. We've also had some nice widget updates. You can now resize these on the home screen with these little handles down in the corner. You can also place them anywhere on the grid, but you can't put these 4x4 ones in the middle of the home screen, which is something I would like. I'd love to be able to do a central layout like this with a 4x4 widget up top. Then one more thing worth noting, you can now lock apps with Face ID or Touch ID. Some apps have had this built in for a while, but now it's baked into the OS, so you can just hold down on any app icon to lock it. So if you're handing your phone to a friend, then they can't go snooping around on your phone. Oh, and this is the new iOS 18 wallpaper, by the way. It's dynamic and the colors change throughout the day, which is pretty cool. I'd love to see more of these. At number 2, we've got some pretty huge changes to Control Center. This has had a big redesign with lots of new buttons and new round designs for the toggles. There's now multiple pages that you can swipe through, with one for your music, your smart home controls, and your favorites up at the top. And here's a tip, you can do one continuous swipe down to get straight to the page that you want. You can tap the new plus button in the corner to now edit and customize your buttons exactly as you'd like. You can remove the ones that you don't use. You can add new ones from this tray that is full of controls. With some new additions, I really like that we now have a shortcuts button for some quick access to some automations. As with widgets, you can resize these. I love the music one. You can have the classic 4x4 square, or stretch it out into like this long skinny control, or drag it down to expand it, showing more and more details until it pretty much fills the entire control center. Like the app icons, you can place them freely wherever you want, and developers will be able to make their own controls for their own app, so expect even more options for Control Center when iOS 18 launches. And over on the lock screen, we can finally change these buttons down at the bottom to any of those round style controls that we saw before, or you can remove them entirely for a cleaner look. I've always liked having the flashlight here, but I've always found having the camera button be a bit redundant, as you can just swipe to get to the camera anyway. There are a few third-party camera apps that I like to shoot with. In fact, I just made a video all about them, which you should definitely go and watch after this. So I've now set a shortcut to open one of those apps instead of the default camera. I'm loving all these new customization options. It's been a bit of a theme with like the last few big iOS updates, first with the lock screen in iOS 16, and then contact posters, and now Control Center and the home screen. The iPhone gets a lot of flack for being so like locked down with no way to customize anything. So it's great to see Apple continue to like open things up and let us have more control over how our iPhones look and how they work. And the same goes for the iPad, as all of these changes are also coming to the iPad at the same time. At number 3, the Messages app gets a bunch of new updates. You can now schedule a message to send later instead of right away. Useful if you need to send like an early morning reminder or schedule a birthday text up to 2 weeks ahead of time. You can format text with bold, italics, underlines, or a strike through, and also add these like fun little animated text effects to a word or a sentence. It even suggests some of these for you as you type that you might want to use. And you can now tap back with any emoji or sticker that you want, which I know a lot of us have been waiting for because the default options just weren't enough. I need my sarcastic side-eye emoji, thank you. And then the big one, which we knew was coming because Apple announced it like months ago, and that is that iOS 18 now supports RCS messages, making it easier to share photos and media with your friends on Android, with support for things like delivery and read receipts. At number 4, the Notes app has had some great additions. You can now collapse text sections under headings to keep things nice and tidy in those larger notes. You can also highlight text now to make it more stand out. Great one if you use the app for your study notes. And on top of that, you can now record audio inside a note and then get a complete text transcript from that recording. This is coming to the iPad as well, which is it's going to be great for things like recording lectures. You can record a class while taking your notes and then go back and listen to the bits that you missed and take notes from the transcription. It's going to make the Notes app a really powerful tool for students. Just sticking with the iPad for a minute, that's getting a feature called Smart Script, which smoothens out your handwriting notes on the fly, even with my absolutely terrible, illegible handwriting. It's all done using an on-device machine learning model that recreates your handwriting style. It feels like magic, and I know I'm going to get a lot of use out of this. And at number 5, we can't not mention the Calculator app. We now have the technology to bring the calculator to the iPad. But trust me, this is like low-key one of the best new features. On the iPhone, they've now added history so you can go back through your sums, as well as a conversion tool for swapping measurements and things like currencies. But they also added something called Math Notes, and this thing is mind-blowing. This is coming to both devices, but it's more suited to the iPad's bigger screen, so I'm going to show you on here. With this, you can just write out any sum or equation that you want, and once you add an equal sign, the app just works out the calculation for you in your own handwriting. You can even swap out parts of the sum or add in more arithmetic and it will just auto-update the answer. Like, this is so cool. You can just use it for some basic calculations to sum up a list, or go as far as to solve some full-on equations for working out the motion of a projectile. and even have it draw out a graph based on the variables in the equation. Like seriously, Apple, we'd have been happy with just a basic calculator app. You didn't have to go this hard and create like the coolest thing in the entire update. So bravo. This is a calculator app worthy of being on the iPad. And then we've got a bunch of smaller changes that are worth highlighting. Game mode minimises background activity, so you can now game for longer at smoother frame rates. It also dramatically reduces latency with AirPods and makes wireless game controllers even more responsive. We get a brand new dedicated passwords app, which replaces the old settings integration. You can even use it to generate a QR code for a Wi-Fi network so others can scan and join. Then check this out, you can now control the width and strength of the flashlight to widen the beam or have it even more focused and brighter with a pretty slick new UI. The Maps app now lets you search for something in the area that you're looking at on the map. It won't just default to things that are near your current location. So you can look up some restaurants or things to do in an area before you go away on a trip. Love that. It also has hiking trails in the US where you can view a route and download it for offline use and even create your own custom routes that you can share. Safari has a new hide content feature. You can use it to select parts of a website and then do a Thanos snap and banish them from the web page entirely. And Safari will remember things that you've hidden even after a reload or after coming back to the page after a few days. Useful for hiding any annoying pop-up banners or boxes or things that are flashing on the web page that are causing a distraction. Then this is kind of interesting. There's a new bouncy UI animation whenever you press any of the side buttons. There's been a few rumors surrounding the next iPhone about it maybe having haptic buttons instead of physical ones, which this new UI change could maybe be hinting towards. Or maybe it's nothing and I'm just overthinking it. We'll have to wait and see. Those are my top 5 new features coming in this next update. There's of course a lot more coming to look forward to. Let me know your favourites in the comments. iOS 18 is compatible with all of these devices, all the way back to the XR from 2018. Pretty impressive from a near 6-year-old phone. The XR stays strong. And iPadOS 18 supports the 7th gen iPad and later, with some features only coming to some newer iPhones and iPads. As for availability, we don't have an official release date yet, but you can expect it to drop sometime in mid-September, just before the launch of the next iPhone. I'll link to Apple's beta site if you want to check out these features early. Just make sure that you do a backup to a Mac or a PC first, as this is beta software, so expect a few bugs and glitches. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, subscribe and hit the bell to see more tech videos from me. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.